Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shamaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Prem Anande.
Hari Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbhishesha Shunyabadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare
Is that
Krishna.
the right text?
I hope so. Let's we're after our brief sojourn studying the first public kirtan of Lord Chaitanya on his way to the Kazi's house. We're coming back to the Caitanya Caritamrita and scrutinizing this version. There's some additions here, and there's some elaborations in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So here we're in the 17th chapter of the Adi Lila, the Lord's pastimes in his youth. And here we are at text 128.
আর যদি কীর্তন করিতে লাগো পাইমু আর যদি কীর্তন করিতে লাগো পাইমু সর্বস্ব দণ্ডিয়া তার জাতি যে লইমু.
Dandiya, that's punishment. Okay. The next time I see someone performing such sankirtan, I shall certainly chastise him not only confiscating all his property, but also converting him into a Muslim. Purport. To convert a Hindu into a Muslim was an easy affair in those days. If a Muslim simply sprinkled water on the body of a Hindu, it was supposed that the Hindu had already become a Muslim. During the transition of the British in Bangladesh during the last Hindu-Muslim riots, many Hindus were converted into Muslims by having cow's flesh forcibly pushed into their mouths. Hindu society was so rigid at that time of Lord Chaitanya that if a Hindu were converted into a Muslim, there was no chance of his being reformed. In this way, the Muslim population in India increased. None of the Muslims came from outside. Social customs somehow or other forced Hindus to become Muslims, with no chance of returning to Hindu society. Emperor Aurangzeb also inaugurated a tax that Hindus had to pay because of their being Hindus. Thus, all the poor Hindus of the lower class voluntarily became Muslims to avoid the tax. In this way, the Muslim population in India increased. Chand Kazi threatened to convert the people into Muslims by the simple process of sprinkling water on their bodies. Om Agyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurinmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupakata Mahyam Dadati Shapandantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to ask permission and blessings from all devotees, and particularly those who are senior by age or advancement in Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada mentions in this purport about the method of conversion of Hindus to Muslims threatened by Chand Kazi. Chand Kazi was the magistrate in the area in charge of upholding law. And he's threatening this because the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya, this is before Lord Chaitanya's procession to Chand Kazi's house, was gaining steam. And the previous verse described how everywhere you went, you could hear the kirtan, the chanting of the holy names, along with the kartals and mridanga. So then the question might be, how is it, as we read in the Caitanya Bhagavat, that the first public Sankirtan, according to them, according to Caitanya Bhagavat, was when Lord Chaitanya went to the Chand Kazi's house? If previously you could hear the holy names and kartals and mridanga in the streets of the city, everywhere you go, in Navadvip. What do you think? No comment.
It was the first time that all these small groups came together.
That could be a possibility. Sure. Then, I was thinking about this, and it's a little puzzling because it says everywhere you go in Navadvip, you could hear the chanting before this. Of course, in those days, the houses were not necessarily like houses in the West. They often had open courtyards, right? Like at Srivasanga, there was a whole open courtyard. And so even though the kirtan might have been in a person's home, because it was an open situation, you could hear it outside in the street. And so when Chand Kazi came, this time he came, according to Caitanya Bhagavat, it was to Srivas Thakur's house to break the Mridanga Drum and threaten. He was it was a private affair. It wasn't a public affair. But because you could hear it outside, it became disturbing to Muslims and Hindus alike. But taking a step back, from the point of view of Bhagavad Gita, or the Krishna conscious point of view, nobody is really a Muslim or a Hindu, or a Christian, or a Jew by that matter. This is a basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness, that we're not any of designation, but we're pure spirit souls, eternal servants of Krishna. And you might do it in a certain way in this time or that time, but Hindus becoming Muslims is an external affair, or Muslims becoming Hindus. But a Muslim is still an eternal associate of the eternal servant of the Lord. And like Haridas Thakur, even though according to some Hindus he wasn't accepted because he was born in a Muslim family, the true knowers of the Vedic religion, like Advaita Acharya, they accepted Haridas Thakur as the Acharya, the teacher of the holy name. He's as the highest qualified Brahmin because of that, his qualification as being a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. So these things of converting Hindus Hindus to Muslims by sprinkling. That's all an external affair, even though in Hindu society at the time it was rigid like that, and so they were socially perhaps rejected from that society. Lord Chaitanya did not reject in that way. Not only did he accept Haridas Thakur, but others. Do you know any others that he accepted in his fold who had been rejected by Hindu society?
You mean our Sampradaya, Rupa Sanatana Goswami?
Yes, Rupa and Sanatan. Even though they were born in Saraswat Brahmin families, they were involved in the service of the Nawab, the Muslim ruler. So by Hindu society standards, they were rejected. But Lord Chaitanya accepted them because they became elevated. They were elevated devotees of Lord Krishna and deputed them to Vrindavan to teach Krishna consciousness. So these things were more of a external affair. What do you think if someone had cow's flesh pushed into their mouths? Would that change them from being a Hindu to a Muslim?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It is, of course, it is an embarrassing situation for those who have been going through. But the other hand, there's a problem, rejecting also. Hindus rejected because of that
Yes.
situation. That's the biggest problem.
Yes, both sides were there. Yeah. The Muslims knew they could do it because the Hindus were susceptible to that prejudice against people who might have even been forced. Of course, from the Hindu society, people who are aware of Bhagavad Gita, everybody says, oh, yes, I know Bhagavad Gita, yada yada hi dharmasya. But there's another verse, api se sudaracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hi saha. Even if someone does some kind of nefarious deed, accidentally or in this case by force, if they continue to engage in the service of Lord Krishna, bhajate mam ananyabhak, sadhu, they're still sadhu. They still should be considered sadhu, great sages, saintly persons. What to speak of Hindu? But so yes, you were going to say more, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu.
And yeah, not the only thing is we become our caste system become the cause of this situation. It is easy process for them acceptance, and it's very easy process for Hindus to reject.
Yes.
Both encouraged this change.
Yes. Srila Prabhupada sometimes would blame the Hindus for shunning the lower classes, especially the Brahmins and Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, shunning the lower classes, and in that way encouraging them to leave the following the Vedas. For example, if a Shudra was passing on the street, people would say, it's a Shudra's coming on the street. Get out, close your doors. It was so rigid like that. So shaming, yeah. In this material world, there's always a pecking order. Somebody's higher, somebody's lower. And those people are higher. They want to stay in their position and utilize it for their material enjoyment, for reputation, wealth, prestige, etc. So those things were going on. So Srila Prabhupada is making a point here that at least he's saying that the majority of the Muslims that were converted from Hindus, and not because they were convinced by philosophy. They heard from the Maulanas or the sheikhs, and therefore, this Islam is the best way to go, but from some social arrangements, social pressure. Nowadays, also, it's very common in India that the Christian missionaries, they'll say, if you like to become a Christian, we'll give you an apartment. isn't it? Same kind of thing. Oh, so is it because the person is they've become convinced of the philosophy of? No, most people don't know the philosophy. One side or the other side. Even most Hindus don't know. Most Muslims don't know. Most Christians don't know. But if it's advantageous for material life, okay. So this is a material dharma, material. And Aurangzeb also, he was a smart guy in the sense that he knew that, the emperor. So he instituted a tax for Hindus, and if they had I think it was called jizya. Was it jizya tax? You know,
Jizya.
how do you say it?
Jizya.
Jizya. Yeah. So then, anybody just to get out of the tax, okay, I'll just become. Well, at least we can say we're a Muslim. Mm, mm. And other times in history, that's similar things happened. There was the Inquisition in Europe, Spain and France, and so many people, in order to avoid being murdered or thrown in jail, they would change, at least on the surface, their uh, affiliation with a particular religion that may not be consistent with, at that time, it was Catholicism, Roman Catholicism. So these things are going on, but that has very little to do with the soul and the soul's relationship with God. Anyone, Hindu, Muslim, Jew, Christian, everyone can learn to chant the holy names of God and become a servant of God, develop love of God by the process of bhakti yoga. Hare Krishna. Comments, questions, additions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Pranam.
Yes.
Yeah, Prabhu, I just know some story about like that Hindu Muslim, when 1971 Pakistan and Bangladesh war. Yeah, that time also they see who's Hindu, who's Muslim, and then they like whole village, like they all gather all the Hindu people, Hindu men, and then they brush fire all of them like that. They used
Yeah, they
to
murder them.
check. Yeah, they used to check they're Hindu or not, by seeing some, weird stuff like they're circumcised or not, because Muslim people they do that and Hindu people they don't. So they used to see this thing, and also they used to like read them kolma or something. I don't know. They have some Muslim thing. They know that. So they used to say if you can read this, if you can say this, they have some, like we have mantras, right? They have some kind of, they said it's kolma or something. I exactly forgot what is it. So they, some Hindu people used to also learn that because they like find it easier. Maybe if they can say that, they will be get, uh, they will not kill them.
Yeah, so if they learn there's those Islamic mantras, then they can recite them and not be killed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. So if a Hindu becomes converted to Muslim, would they become circumcised?
I think so.
Yeah, even later in their life?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, a little trick. But anyway, these are all really superficial things that go on. Have in during the Second World War in Europe, there was, of course, the Holocaust against the Jewish people. Somebody was a Jew, then they would murder them. Millions of people murdered just because of some kind of conception in the mind. But actually, not only human beings, but animals all are alive because of the presence of the soul. And just like, you can change your dress from, today it's a little cold outside. You might put a certain coat on, but then when it's warm, you change your dress. No coat. So it's very interesting. Some people who study, people who remember past lives, have commented that very common is for people who were Jewish in their last lives, they become Germans and vice versa. It's all a superficial thing. Yeah. So people become whatever you think at the time of death, you become like that. So uh, Jewish people who were murdered, they were thinking, oh, these German people, they're very nasty, and they're very angry at them. So of course, next life you become a German. And German people were thinking, gosh, it was really horrendous that I murdered thousands of people. So okay, become a Jew. But actually, none of that is eternal reality. Our eternal reality is we're eternal servants of Krishna. Jiver Svarup Hoy Krishna Nitya Das, Krishna Tatasta Shakti Vedave Prakash. And there's always differences on the material platform. You know, Protestant, Catholic, Christian, Jew, Muslim, Hindu, all these things. But Lord Chaitanya and the teachings of Krishna consciousness, right in the beginning, says Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekang Sharanam Braja. Give up all the different types of other dharmas and just surrender to me. And that's the essence of all those religions, really. But that's the perfect religion. Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhakti Radhoksaje. That best religion is not Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jew, but that religion which can bring you to unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, uninterrupted, ahaituki, and without any motive, material motive. Hare Krishna. Text 129.
এত বলি কাজী গেল নাগরিয়া লোক প্রভু স্থানে নিবেদিল পায়া বড় শোক.
After saying this, the Kazi returned home, and the devotees, greatly shocked that they were forbidden to chant Hare Krishna, submitted their grief to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
প্রভু আজ্ঞা দিল যাহ করহ কীর্তন মুই সংহারিমু আজি সকল জগন.
Lord Chaitanya ordered, go perform Sankirtan. Today I shall kill all the Muslims. Purport. Gandhi is known for having started the movement of nonviolent civil disobedience in India. But about 500 years before him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started his movement of nonviolent civil disobedience to the order of Chandkazi. It is not necessary to commit violence to stop the opposition from hindering a movement, for one can kill their demoniac behavior with reason and argument. Following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whenever there are obstacles, the Hare Krishna movement should kill the opposition with reason and argument, and thus stop their demoniac behavior. If we become violent in every case, it will be difficult for us to manage our affairs. We should therefore follow in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who disobeyed the order of Chandkazi, but subdued him with reason and argument. That's a very interesting point. Is Mother Shobharade here? Or is she gone already? She left already? Okay. Because I sent 2 articles to Mother Shobharade for distribution if you want. One of them, is that Mother Shobharade?
Yes, Prabhu.
Did you see those 2 articles?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So one is written by our god brother Satyaraj Prabhu, kind of giving a history of the nonviolent, non-cooperation movements were modern, you know, with Mohandas Gandhi and Martin Luther King and all this, and comparing, contrasting it with the non-cooperation, non-violent movement by Lord Chaitanya. So it's quite an interesting thing, and we might have those people who are interested into getting deeper into this understanding of Lord Chaitanya's movement might give that a read. It's quite interesting. And the other article, which we'll come to shortly, is a Muslim's reaction and view of Lord Chaitanya's preaching to Chandkazi at the end of this pastime, which it was published in a journal called the Journal of Vaishnav Studies, which is also edited by Satyaraj Prabhu. It's a bit challenging, and it's a little bit heretical, that one. So, but it's might be interesting to stimulate understanding and conversation, deeper understanding and conversation of this pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Chandkazi. So a few things, just a contrast, a few surface things. So in this demonstration, nonviolent, non-cooperation demonstration of civil disobedience from Lord Chaitanya, he says she's going to kill the Muslims. And then Srila Prabhupada in the purport says that killing of their demoniac behavior and with reason and argument. So we'll see that as far as as noted, there weren't any Muslims or Hindus that were killed in this civil disobedience demonstration that was given, which is very interesting. Now, a contrast is, so during the civil disobedience, nonviolent civil disobedience movement of Mohandas Gandhi, what was his goal? And the goal of that movement?
To get the British out?
Yeah.
Yeah, Swaraj. He wanted a political solution to the problem. Yes, there was the discrimination against the Indian people. They were being exploited. But his solution was to change the ruling class, right? The rulers. Similar to what Lord Krishna did, inciting Arjuna to fight, to have a regime change. You follow? What was Lord Chaitanya's method? What was his goal? Sorry, what was his goal? Go ahead.
To take the people back to what their real dharma is.
Yes, and
love of Godhead.
And in his interaction with the Kazi, I mean. Did he want to kick the Kazi out and put in somebody else?
No.
No. He wanted to address what he understood and what is a mistaken policy of the government. Not that he was interested in changing the government. You follow? So another interesting point is Lord Chaitanya was acting on the transcendental platform, but from a material standpoint, he was a Brahmin. Brahmin is not a politician, right? But on the material platform, Arjun, he was a Kshatriya. He was a fighter. Two different approaches. You follow? So Srila Prabhupada here is encouraging us to follow Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as being a Brahminical approach to the problem, and not necessarily to change the regime, change the leaders, but to influence them by convincing them with reason and argument about the importance of chanting and the Hare Krishna movement, public chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Does that make sense? There's a contrast. It's not all the same. Comments, questions? So I encourage you to read. I encourage you. How will you distribute those to the group?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure that out. I'll try and do it this week. I downloaded it onto my computer, but I'm not able to, because I'm not the host anymore. I'm not able to attach it in the chat box, I think. So I might have to email it to everybody.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if anybody wants it, please send your emails, email IDs. And I will
To understand these pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a deep fashion is that's how we make progress in our spiritual life. So I encourage you to read it if you want. I don't agree with everything in these articles, by the way. It's a good idea to brush up your critical faculties and respond to them. And we can speak about them a little more next week if you have a chance. Some of you have a chance to read them. Okay, next verse.
ঘরে গিয়া সব লোক করয় কীর্তন, কাজীর ভয়ে স্বচ্ছন্দ নহে, চমকিত মন।
Returning home, all the citizens began performing Sankirtan. So they're defying it. But because of the order of the Kaji, they were not carefree, but always full of anxiety. Chamakita.
তা সভার অন্তরে ভয় প্রভু মনে জানি, কহিতে লাগিলা লোকে শীঘ্র ডাকি আনি।
Understanding the anxiety within people's minds, the Lord called them together and spoke to them as follows. So they were chanting, but he knew that it wasn't the same. It wasn't good. So he called them. Okay.
নগরে নগরে আজি করিমু কীর্তন, সন্ধ্যাকালে কর সভে নগর মণ্ডন।
In the evening, I shall perform Sankirtan in each and every town. Therefore, you should all decorate the city in the evening. So that's Sandhya, right? So this occurred. When did this occur? It was around the time of Gaura Purnima, because it was holy time. Remember, there was colors on everybody's faces. So that's around 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. Purport, at that time, Navadvip was composed of 9 small cities. So the words Nagare are significant. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to perform kirtan in each of these neighboring towns. He ordered the city decorated for the function. So the city, in one sense, is all those 9 cities, at least 9, he was performing. And we read about Lord Chaitanya going to the different parts of Navadvip on his way to Chandkazi's house finally. Text 134.
সন্ধ্যাতে দেউটি সবে জলে ঘরে ঘরে, দেখো কোন কাজী আসি মোরে মানা করে।
In the evening, burn torchlights in every home. I shall give protection to everyone. Let us see what kind of kaji comes to stop our kirtan.
এত কহি সন্ধ্যাকালে চলে গৌর রায়, কীর্তনের কইল প্রভু 3 সম্প্রদায়।
Chale, they went out, yeah. In the evening, Lord Gaur Sundara went out and formed 3 parties to perform kirtan. Purport. This is a scheme for performing kirtan in a procession. During Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, one party was composed of 21 men, 4 people playing ridangas, 1 leading the chanting, and 16 others striking kartals, responding to the leading chanter. If many men join the Sankirtan movement, they may follow in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and form different parties according to the time and the number of men available. So Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan party is a little bit, details are given. 4 mridangas, 16 kartals, and 1 person leading the chanting. So how is it, at that time they didn't have amplification, loudspeakers. So how did they hear? All these guys? Yeah.
They're chanting loudly, Prabhuji.
Okay, that's one thing is they're chanting loudly. Another In another place, we read that
Is it that there was not only are they chanting loudly, but the amount of people, it's just so overwhelming?
yeah, but if it's overwhelming, then how would you hear the chanting of that one person?
Well, I mean, overwhelming by like, if you're in a football stadium with 70,000 people, you don't need speakers to make it loud in there. Those 70,000 people are loud, and you can hear it reverberate from inside. So that's what I was thinking.
There's talking. There's one person leading the chanting. One person here says. So it's not the whole group.
I'm sorry.
I got you. But no, I understand. You got it. Your point. Yeah, coming back and forth. Yeah. I see Mahapremavesh. Prabhu has his hand up.
Does it say one person leading, or was it multiple people leading?
It says one leading the chanting. One.
Huh. Okay.
In the purport.
All right.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll have, when there's no amplification, several devotees at the same time will lead, but that apparently is not what was going on here. In another place in the Caitanya Bhagavat, it says that the practice was when the leader was chanting, the players of the instruments would play very softly. And then after that, then when everybody's chanting, then they would play loud. It would go like that. Soft, loud, soft, loud. It was quite choreographed nicely. I've seen this happen. I've seen it. Devotees. I saw a party of devotees in Vrindavan doing Sankirtan exactly like that. And it was very sweet. They were all dancing in unison. And they played the kartals very softly during the lead chanting, with kartals and mridanga. And when there was a response, then they increased the volume. It was very nice. And so apparently that's how the one leading chanter was heard without amplification. Of course, some of those chanters might have had very strong voices as well, in addition to that, and they probably did. But that detail is mentioned in the Caitanya.
And then there mustn't be that much noise like it is now around.
Okay, yes. They didn't have sirens going on and all. Yeah.
Yes, so you are right. I remember this one of our villagers, Ustadji, means he teaching all the singing for the tablas, kartals, and he always, looking for his student, he's stopping. Yeah, just slow down, not to. He thinking just voice always be high, and all the instruments should be going down. Like this way, he teaching the thing. I remember that. Thank you.
Yeah. Because the kirtan is the holy names. The drum, the kartal, etc. They're to assist or to accompany, not to drown out. And it's a little bit tricky because you use an amplification, and then everybody plays louder, and then they got to turn up the amplification. It goes on a lot louder and louder and louder. There are a number of people that even come to the temple in Philadelphia that avoid going to the kirtans. You know why? Too loud. Freaks them out. The loud, the volume of the kirtan. So anyway, those that's the method that they used at the time of Lord Chaitanya, and we may at least take up some part of that.
আগে সম্প্রদায়ে নৃত্য করে হরিদাস, মধ্যে নাচে আচার্য গোসাই পরম উল্লাস.
In the front party danced Thakur Haridas, and in the middle party danced Advaita Acharya with great jubilation. So here they're going to the Chand Kazi's house, and who's in the front? Thakur Haridas. At least from born in a Muslim family, is very interesting.
পাছে সম্প্রদায়ে নৃত্য করে গৌরচন্দ্র, তার সঙ্গে নাচি গুলে প্রভু নিত্যানন্দ.
Lord Gaurachandra himself danced in the rear party, and Sri Nityananda Prabhu moved with Lord Chaitanya's dancing. So Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda in the back, yeah. Okay.
বৃন্দাবন দাস ইহা চৈতন্য মঙ্গলে বিস্তারি বর্ণিয়াছেন প্রভু কৃপা বলে।
By the grace of the Lord, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has elaborately described this incident in his Chaitanya Mangal, now Chaitanya Bhagavat. That's what we read, that the whole chapter, about 150 pages there. Yeah.
এই মতো কীর্তন করি নগরে ভ্রমিলা, ভ্রমিতে ভ্রমিতে সবে কাজীর দ্বারে গেলা।
Performing kirtan in this way, circumambulating through every nook and corner of the city, they finally reached the door of the Kazi. Brahmite, Brahmite, that wandering, going, there's the verse, a famous verse, E rupe, Brahmanda Brahmite, Kono, Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Kripa Pai Bhaktilata Bij. After wandering throughout the universe, a very fortunate soul gets by the mercy of Krishna, and the spiritual master gets the seed of devotional service. So Lord Chaitanya here is wandering through the towns, nooks, every nook and corner of the 9 islands of Navadvip on his way to the Kazi. Okay.
তর্জ গর্জ করে লোক, করে কোলাহল, গৌরচন্দ্র বলে লোক প্রশ্রয় পাগল।
Murmuring in anger and making a roaring sound, the people, under the protection of Lord Chaitanya, became mad through such indulgence. Purport. The Kazi had issued an order not to perform kirtan, congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord, but when this was brought up to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he ordered civil disobedience to the Kazi's order. Lord Chaitanya and all his devotees, naturally enthusiastic although agitated, must have made a great noise with their loud cries. Yeah. So it's a little question is, so the verse says, under the protection of Lord Chaitanya became mad through such indulgence. What is that indulgence? Such indulgence. What is that indulgence?
Harinam.
Okay. You think Harinam? Yes. Okay. Next.
কীর্তনের ধ্বনিতে কাজী লুকাইল ঘরে, তর্জন গর্জন শুনি না হয় বাহিরে।
The loud sound of the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra certainly made the Kazi very much afraid. And he hid himself within his room. Hearing the people thus protesting, murmuring in great anger, the Kazi would not come out of his home. Purport. The Kazi's order not to perform Sankirtan could stand only as long as there was no civil disobedience. Under the leadership of the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the chanters, increasing in number, disobeyed the order of the Kazi. Thousands assembled together and formed parties, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and making a tumultuous sound of protest. Thus, the Kazi was very much afraid, as naturally one should be under such circumstances. In the present day also, people all over the world may join together in the Krishna consciousness movement and protest against the present degraded governments of the world's godless societies, which are based on all kinds of sinful activities. Srimad Bhagavatam states that in the age of Kali, thieves, rogues, and fourth-class people who have neither education nor culture capture the seats of government to exploit the citizens. This is a symptom of Kali Yuga that has already appeared. People cannot feel secure about their lives and property, yet the so-called governments continue, and government ministers get fat salaries, although they are unable to do anything good for society. The only remedy for such conditions is to enhance the Sankirtan movement under the banner of Krishna consciousness and protest against the sinful activities of all the world's governments. The Krishna consciousness movement is not a sentimental religious movement. It is a movement for the reformation of all the anomalies of human society. If people take to it seriously, discharging this duty scientifically, as ordered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the world will see peace and prosperity instead of being confused and hopeless under useless governments. There are always rogues and thieves in human society. And as soon as weak government is unable to execute its duties, these rogues and thieves come out to do their business. Thus, the entire society becomes a hell, unfit for gentlemen to live in. There's immediate need for good government, a government by the people, with Krishna consciousness. Unless the masses of people become Krishna conscious, they cannot be good men. The Krishna consciousness movement that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra still has its potency. Therefore, people should understand it seriously and scientifically and spread it all over the world. The Sankirtan movement started by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Kanda, 23rd chapter, beginning with verse 241, which states, "My dear Lord, let my mind be fixed at your lotus feet." Following Lord Chaitanya's chanting, all the devotees reproduced the same sound he chanted. In this way, the Lord proceeded, leading the entire party on the strand roads by the bank of the Ganges. When the Lord came to his own ghat, or bathing place, he danced more and more. Then he proceeded to Madhai's ghat. In this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord, who was known as Vishvambar, danced all over the banks of the Ganges. Then he proceeded to Barakorna Ghat, then Nagariya Ghat, and traveling through Ganga Nagara, reached Sumulia, a quarter at one end of the town. All these places surround Sri Mayapur. After reaching Sumulia, the Lord proceeded toward the Kazi's house, and in this way he reached the door of Chand Kazi. So the procession there, one place after the other, is described there nicely in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and also repeated here by Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada is critical here of modern day governments, and he says that they don't really have an interest in doing good for the people. Usually, the main business of the government is to see how they can maintain their own wealth and increase it, and that of their friends and relatives and associates, at the expense of the general mass of people. So Srila Prabhupada commented there, you notice that a government by the people. That's a quote, as you might know, from the Gettysburg Address. You know the Gettysburg, did you learn the Gettysburg Address in school? Maybe not in India. In the United States, at least they used to make us learn to get it. So a government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. That's supposedly the ideal. The people run the government by their desire, by their needs and desire. And Srila Prabhupada here adjust it just somewhat. He says a government by the people, not just by the people, but by the people with Krishna consciousness. Because people in general, they don't necessarily know what's good for them all the time. So if the people, the general mass of people become enlightened to a level of Krishna consciousness, then certainly there's a greater possibility of good government that will take care of all, take care appropriately of all different sections of society, different than it is now. There's from a political standpoint, different think tanks made examination of the different legislative actions or bills that are passed in the United States legislature, and how many are favored by the great mass of people in the United States. And what do they find? Do you know? Most of the legislative bills that are passed, about 99% are not favored by the great mass of people. So even though it's called a democracy, it's really not. It's ruled. It's more of an oligarchy in the United States, and people are very proud of it. And an oligarchy means certain people are powerful, or they have power, they have wealth, and they use that power and wealth to stay in power and to put down others. It goes on not just in the United States, of course. It goes on all over the world, in India as well. But whatever one's condition is, if at the time of realizing one's difficulty in this material world, and that there's nowhere to get out alive except by becoming Krishna conscious, and one begins to take that seriously, then whatever condition one's in a material opulent condition or a poor condition or in between, one can be happy in life, and at the end of life make a progress back to home, back to Godhead, which is the real purpose of human life anyway. And according to the Bhagavad Gita, to facilitate that is one of the important measures of government here and in the past. Statements, comments, questions? We didn't get to Chankazi yet. We just got to his door just now. We're knocking on his door.
Hare
Krishna Kirtan. Go ahead.
I have a question. Which dweep this procession was going on?
All of them. It went on all nine islands, and then it finished on its way to Sumulia. Sumulia is on Simanta Dweep, because Chankazi's house is on the island of Simanta Dweep, and
okay.
And there's the name of the town now is Vamanapukur. It's the name of a town where Chankazi had his house.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
I was looking into so my one point is the current Kaji's samadhi is later once he became devotee. That place, that's going to be the Kaji's house probably, right? I mean, it's a samadhi, of course. So because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went through all in Mayapur, it's not very far from Kaji's samadhi and Lord Chaitanya's birthplace. So
that's right. Yeah. So he went around. It seems like he went around and then came back along the Ganges by Mayapur up to, because the Chankazi's house at that time was northeast of Mayapur, not far, maybe less than about a mile northeast of Mayapur, birth site. Was that?
So it's still the same place where his samadhi is. That was his Chankazi's place.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
And so you'll see in the last paragraph of this purport the different ghats Lord Chaitanya went. Those ghats. See his own ghat, which was very close by to his house, his own ghat. Then next to his was Madai's ghat, next to Lord Chaitanya's ghat. And then along that way, there's Barakona Ghat and Nagariya Ghat, Ganganai. That's just all different on the way from, as he was finishing the last part of the Sankirtan, that's on his way to Chankazi's place in Sumulia. Those are all different ghats along the way, along the Ganges on the way to Sumulia. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Those days, that much distance is considered very far anyway.
Oh, okay. 1 mile, yeah, 1 mile.
Now 1 mile is very far. Even my grandparents' home was probably a mile distance, but it's a big thing for us to walk and go once in a while like that.
Yeah, because we're not using automobiles.
Yeah.
Or even scooters, mopeds.
So in essence, we can learn from this, from the past, learn from our teachers, authorities, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and take this Sankirtana movement seriously and come out and propagate. We cannot change the past, but we can instrument, carrying out, continuing our dharma of our parampara is Sankirtana.
Yes, yes. Well said. Well said, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu.
Thank you.
Okay, so I urge you to read those articles about. They are both about Kazi's this Kazi pastime with Lord Chaitanya, and like I said, one of them that was written by a Muslim, a practicing Muslim, and he's a bit critical. He is critical of some of the things. It's a little difficult to read, but if we have a discussion next time about it, it probably will be very interesting. It helps us to, to understand what's going on a little deeper. Other questions, comments? Thank you all very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavane vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna.